Hi guys, it's Amy and you have found Amy Loves Crochet. Thank you so much for your time. I do sincerely appreciate any time you click on my videos. I just like to chit chat about what I've been crocheting with my friends here, and interaction down below in the comments is always greatly appreciated. I like to know what you've been working on. If you've seen this yarn or this pattern before, let us know what you've got going on as well. So before I jump into my finished project, just a little chit chat. I am late with my video today because I had my grandkids all day yesterday from 6 a.m. until 4:30ish or something like that. So it was a really great long day with the kiddos and I just love them to death. So that was, yesterday was Saturday. So Saturday morning is my normal filming time lately. So that didn't work out. So here I am on Sunday instead. On Friday, I had a doctor's, an eye appointment at 8 o'clock in the morning. I like to do my appointments like first thing. I always want that first appointment so that if something else is, if your appointments get delayed by 2 o'clock, I don't want to be, an hour late for my appointment because you're so backed up. So I always like to get my appointments done first thing in the morning. So that was 8:15. I had to be at the eye doctor at 8:15. And I knew I wanted to go do some yarn shopping for my shawl share. I have to think about when my words on that one. My shawl share. As I told you, I wasn't going to buy any more yarn this year. I'm going to try not to buy any yarn this year. And the shawl share comes with preferences. So it's no secret that, I generally like to wait and share my patterns or my projects when they're done. So I don't think I'm going to give any updates along the way with this one, just to say, so the person that I drew for has chosen the color preferences. I love when I do that. Not. So the color preferences that she challenged me with or whatnot is turquoise or autumn colors, or a gradient. And so I really had in my head what I wanted. And I generally, when I shop for yarn or when I'm out and I buy yarn, it's not for a specific project or needing a specific color or anything. So this one was really, this was a fun challenge for me because I knew that I would see it and know it immediately, that that was the right yarn to use. So, I'm going to head out to Seven Sisters, but they didn't open until noon. And it was, when I was done with my eye appointment, it was like not even 9 o'clock, I think. So I had 3 hours to kill, and I had taken a couple of vacation days this week, but then we got snowed in. So I really was going to feel free to do whatever roaming and wandering in the yarn world that I wanted to today. So, or on Friday. So I first went to Michael's just because it was the closest, and I'm generally not impressed with what is going on at Michael's. Once I used to get Craft Smart yarn, I used to find them when they would clearance a skein of yarn for like $2, but it's been a while since I've had that luck, and I'm just not interested in all of this stuff that they're coming out with. Karen yarn is a great yarn, but I'm just kind of over. I feel like they've just regurgitated different yarn lines, different blends, and different fibers and stuff like that over and over and over and over. So Michael's was just a hit and miss. It hasn't been a hit for a very long time for me. So that I knew it was going to not be impressive. I didn't put too much weight in that. So then I went to Joann's, and all this talk about whether they're going out of business or not. I have never really found a great a great clearance price at Joann's. They take 50 cents off a price and call it a clearance item. Don't pull the wool over my eyes. So I did find way back in the day, I did find my Bernat Softy Cotton, a whole bunch of that for like $2.97. So I have a whole ton of that still in white and light blue and light brown, and then some variegateds of the blue and the brown. So those have been sneaking out, creeping out into projects slowly but surely over the years. But I haven't worked with that in a long time. Anyway, so that's Joann's. Never impressed, and the fact that they're going out of yarn, going out of business, or whatever is going on with them, I'm not even interested. It hasn't affected me at all this go around. So maybe this is a good time for me to say, because when I think I'm going to go out and try to find some clearance, and then I don't, like I'm all anxious about it, and I set myself out with a mission and then I didn't get anything. And so I haven't been to a box store shopping for yarn in a very long time. So had to head over to Hobby Lobby. This was their 30% off week. So even if, no, I'm not gonna say even if. So going on a week where they're going to have the 30% off is the only way to go with Hobby Lobby, because why not? It's every other week. You know when they're going to be on sale. So I knew that if I went and found just the right yarn, it was going to be fantastic because it was going to be on sale and blah, blah, blah. Well, I was kind of disappointed in Hobby Lobby as well. Now, in past experiences with Hobby Lobby, I thought they had a whole nother aisle, and I kept finding myself like walking around the aisle, and I'd go to the other side. Nope, there's none over there. And so I wasn't impressed. I mean, they have their, I love this yarn on this entire long wall. Put in a few other things in there. I didn't find any hanks like these guys. I didn't find any of those. So I don't know what was going on with them, but still very unimpressed. So now it's like 10:15 and I have nothing more to do, and Seven Sisters still doesn't open until noon. So there's another shop called Yarn.com that is about 20 minutes, half an hour drive from where I was. So I went ahead and drove up there to check them out. They were opening at 11. So I knew I could get in there and see what I could see and maybe find something, maybe not. So I did not. I got there and sat in my car for a couple minutes waiting for them to open, and then they opened and I went in and found nothing. So that's not true. The color turquoise, you know, anytime you fall into that like blue spectrum, you could be teal, aquamarine, turquoise, like just off a little bit from your color, and then it's just blue. Like everything I saw was just a great shade of different shades of blue. So unless the yarn color was called turquoise, I wasn't going to fall for it. Like unless I knew that this was turquoise, I didn't want to get it. So I found myself looking then at the autumn colored things, and I'm still at Yarn.com. So I'm looking at the autumn color things, and I have some autumn color yarn that I would use if I didn't find anything else on this day. So it really had to impress me more than what I already had if I was going to buy it. And so the colors that I have that would make up the autumn, there's no green in it. And a lot of color palettes that I was looking up for autumn still had some green. So then I found this one and I was super excited. I thought that was going to be a great autumn color. And it was super green. You know, you see just the top of the colorway of the skein and you're like, oh, that's nice. And then you pick it up and the bottom is entirely a different color. That happened to me. So I was still just not finding this turquoise that I wanted. And one of them, I think at Yarn.com, I think one of them actually said the colorway was actually called raw turquoise. So then if you've ever seen, you know, the stone turquoise, and to see it, that stone in its natural raw coloring, there are oranges and yellows and so forth in it. So here is a different grouping that I already owned that I thought, here's some turquoise-ish colors, here's some autumn-ish colors. Would they go together? Could I do that for it? And then I still just kind of felt stripey. And so nothing was fitting. Nothing was hitting. Like when you know, you see it, that's it. That I wasn't finding that. So I get finished with Yarn.com and I have an hour. I have about 45 minutes to get to Seven Sisters and or until they open, and it's only going to take me about 25 minutes to get there. So I still had to figure out something else. I went and had lunch and then came back, and then went to Seven Sisters. So wouldn't you know that I found the most perfect yarn at Seven Sisters, and it's Leading Men Fiber Arts yarn. Of course, you know, if I did not have my eye appointment, I would have gone straight, you know, from home to Seven Sisters, one shopping trip, found what I was looking for, went home. You know, that would have been the perfect scenario. But I'm not mad that I still got to do a little bit of yarn shopping or wandering around in a yarn aisle, if you will. Just kind of enjoying the yarny adventure that I was on. So yes, I picked up some perfect colored yarn at Seven Sisters, buy my favorite yarn dyer. And I had a single color to pair with it, and I'm in seventh heaven. And then came home and found the perfect pattern that I had already been eyeing, and I'm super duper happy. I'm working on my shawl, my shawl to share, my sharing shawl, whatever you want to call it. I'm working on that, and I'm just super happy because, you know, me being in between projects or whatever, I got to have something to work on. And when I finally find it, and I'm in the zone. So yay. So I do have a finished pattern. I mean, a finished project to share with you. I told you about it last week's video when I found the yarn pattern combination that I could work with. It makes me so excited. So I did start working on that, but it was coming out really, really big. I think I was only on row 14 of 30, and I realized I didn't have half of my yarn left that I needed to complete the other half of the remaining rows. So it called for a 6.5mm hook, and I had to drop down to a 6mm hook, and I almost got it finished. So the pattern is called, it's just a hooded cowl. I didn't see if it had a name. I don't think it does. Hooded cowl. It's called Jessie at Home is the blog page that I saw it on. And again, it called for a 6.5mm hook, but I had to go down to a 6mm hook. So if you have not seen me talk about my scarfy yarn before, I was super excited to finally pick some up on clearance. These stickers say $11.99 originally, and I paid $5 at Michael's for two different single skeins, two different colors. The one that I've shown you before is called Cranberry and Black, and I've got a good amount left. It's not quite half, but you can see how they take the colors Cranberry and Black, and then you also get a section where they're kind of marbled together a little bit. And these are originally 312 yards, 150 grams. It is a 5-weight bulky, and it's 78% acrylic and 22% wool. So they do suggest a 6.5mm hook, but sometimes you got to go down a hook size to make a project work. So I have shown you that colorway in this little scarf that I made. We talked about the shape. Is it a trapezoid, where the edges kind of come at a triangle, semi-triangle, and then it has these little tassels on it. So this was the black and cranberry color that I had worked on. I don't know, it's in my book from a little while ago. I could dig that out. I think I just recently got these within the last year, so it hasn't been too long since I worked on that. But the colorway in today's yarn is called Oxford Claret. So as you can see here, it's got more of like a burgundy color and then a gray that it goes into. And what I made was a hooded cowl. I said that already and messed up my surprise. So, you know, you put it around your neck. I'll insert some pictures here, and then your little face comes out here. It called for one more round, which I could not do, and then a single crochet round. And this is how much yarn I had left over. So it was a brand new cake or skein of yarn when I started, and so I decided to go ahead and work with what I could. If it were me, I would have preferred to end differently. When you start the pattern, I'm upside down. When you start the pattern, you've got all these front post double crochets, and then you start doing these cables that cross over, and so there's the number of rows down here, and then in between the cable switches, it's only a fewer amount of rows. And so for me and my symmetry, I would have wanted to end it in the same number of rows as you've got down here, this section right before you get to where the cable crosses over. So I would have wanted that same amount of rows here as symmetry, but that's not what the pattern calls for, and I didn't have enough yarn for that anyway. So I don't mind. What I'm next going to do is, because it doesn't look finished, it needs a row of single crochets, which the pattern does call for. So I'm going to frog this last row out and do a row of single crochets just to give it that finished look, because again, I would have wanted the cable to go longer anyway at this point. And so since it's not going to do what I want it to do, I might as well just go ahead and give it the finished single crochet around the edge. But yeah, the first one that I was working on, it was like super wide, and I kind of figured out that that wasn't going to work. So in working with a cable, you do skip you skip some spaces and work into the next one, and then you work back into the skipped one. So the sections here within the cable ribbing was the only, like, I'm going to say difficult, but the rest of the pattern is just double crochets and half double crochets and single crochets. And then you come back around to where the pattern is, and it's just front and back post double crochets to make your, or are they trebles? They might be trebles. I think they're trebles. But so I know, you know, so here's where we come across. We skipped some and did these, and then we do these over the top of them. So I know when it's a front post, I know how to do the post stitches, okay? And I usually only work with, I seem to have this problem when I work with cables, because this written pattern was not clear enough to me. When you're going to cross over and go into the stitches that you skip to create the crossover, sometimes you need to be in front of the stitch and sometimes you need to be in back of the stitch. So I'm not confident in which direction my cable's crossed over, because I see that it comes, you know, we go this way and then we go this way, and I would expect to be on top of them again right here, but now I'm underneath them. So I really tried to interpret the pattern. I mean, you know, when you're reading words and they're not, it's not a full sentence, it's not like complete enough, and you have to kind of guesstimate, you use your brain a little bit. So I felt like I was doing it right, but now when you look at the cable, it doesn't look right to me. So I'm not going to stress out about that too much. I think, you know, I've done plenty of crossover stitches. I've done plenty of, you know, crisscross stitches, whatever you call that, where you skip a stitch, you do the next one, and then you cross back over and work into your unworked, the one that you skipped. But they're usually only crossing in one direction. Like you always skip one, work in the next one, and then work in front of that. So having to work behind your stitch to put in a back post step, we all have our own issues, right? And that's the cables is just something I'm very confident with. The front post and back post stitches themselves. I'm very confident in a crisscross stitch, but when you're crisscrossing both front and back, and I think I'm just overthinking it. Maybe a cleaner eye would know, or a more experienced eye might know that I'm doing that wrong. So I did look, like I wanted to look it up to see if somebody had just a, this is how you do back post crossovers, or, you know, whatever, to incorporate the crisscross and the back post. Whatever. Okay, what else? Okay, so I did, you guys may or may not know, oh, let me just come back to this real quick. Also at Seven Sisters then, I've seen these before and I didn't get them then, and so I had to get them now. They are note cards about crochet, so they're called Croats. And there's, they're blank inside, and there's 4 different designs. This one says, any day spent crocheting is a good day. Crochet fills my days, not to mention the living room, the bedroom, the closets. Crochet mends the soul, and I'm happier and calmer when crocheting. So nice little goodies here. Like I said, I saw them there before and didn't pick them up, and so this time I thought that was the perfect, when you're in the mood to get it, you get it, right? Okay, so this other thing that I started working on, you may or may not have remembered that I have had a heck of a time with Tunisian crochet. I have, I did make a little satchel pouch bag thing that was in 4 strips, and then you sew the bottoms together, and there's a drawstring at the top. I made that out of Tunisian, and then I got some corded, a great clover set of Tunisian hooks. But it, once in a while it creeps back around and says, you gotta do me again. And then I go, I'm having trouble, go away. So this one, I was watching Tony, of course, TL Yarn Crafts, do this little patchwork. I was going to dig into my scraps and I thought, well, this would be a great opportunity to do little sections of the Tunisian so I'm not overwhelmed by it, and get rid of my scraps. But as I got started with it, I just kept going with it and then realized that while I was enjoying doing my little practicing with it and stuff, I don't want to make this project that I had set out to make. So part of my scraps include some Karen Simply Soft and Soft and Shiny by Loops and Threads and stuff. And I decided I didn't want to mix and match that in this pattern of if I was going to do a little patchwork of Tunisian, I didn't want to mix and match those fibers from my scrap. So it was only supposed to be like this big, and then you change color and work another section and change color, so that each of the sections were only like 5 or 6 rows or something. And I decided I didn't want to. I just kept going. So I really like the way that Tunisian looks. Gives you that knitted, this isn't working. Gives you that knitted look. I really like this bar that comes down, and it's so like, I don't know, they look like little columns or something, even more so. So I just made this really long strip. I just kept going. I just kept working on it. It's a matter of rhythm or a matter of muscle memory sometimes. And so I wanted to keep working with it. Part of my problem is if my hook comes out, how do you pick back up? Like, I need that part where I sit down with somebody who knows Tunisian and am able to ask questions that maybe aren't set out in an FAQ or discussed in a video. Anybody can pick it up, follow the rules, and then be done. But if in between you have a hiccup and you need to get back on track, what do you do? So that's been my problem with Tunisian. And I don't know what I'm going to do with this strip. It was just a matter of playing with it and working with it a little bit. So, and then if you saw my, I made a cowl with this yarn, and it was too long and too floppy, and I didn't like it. So we all discussed that I would frog it out. And so this is the little remnants that I have to work with now. I know it's the same kind of colorways as in this group, which was really, really funny. I bought them kind of recent to each other and didn't even realize it. But, so I have this whole set, obviously, to start working with still. And these are about half of the skeins, half of the mini skeins. So it was 552 yards to begin with. So this is probably half of that, because the other cowl that I made with a feather and fan stitch, I left that one alone. So I don't know that I'm going to, want to make something up again with these. Maybe I'll just put this in my scraps and then use it, mix and match the different colors later on in something else, or who knows. Okay, so still working on that natural marl little green satchel toddler backpack type thing, whatever it was. I don't know what's happening with that. The Tunisian strip, I started working on some scrap blankets. I have both one blanket that I'm making with kind of so 4-weight yarn, y'all know worsted weight yarn can come in lots of different thicknesses, and I'm not a fan of that. So you could have, again, you can have 2 yarns that are both labeled as a 4, but they're far from similar. So I took my 4s that are fatter, and I started to work up a scrap blanket out of that. And then my skinny 4s, I went up to a 7mm hook and am working with those, holding 2 strands together. So I've got 2 different scrap projects right now that is keeping me busy in between. But now that I got my shawl share to work on, I'm going to finish that before I keep working on the others. Yeah, I've kind of been keeping busy, when you sit in between projects and then you get a couple of different projects all at once. You're like, oh, what do I do? What do I do? What am I working on? So that's what we've got for you today. Mouse in my pocket. Hope you're doing well. Hope you, if you're in the US, hope you survived our recent storm of white stuff falling. We're supposed to get up to mid-50s today, so hopefully the rest of the snow will melt off. I did go out and buy a snow shovel, and there's such a difference after you know, with a snow shovel, you can just kind of push this light snow and it just goes. Our most recent storm had a bunch of ice with it, so that was different. That was not fun. And I needed a shovel and chipping and sore body. This old person can't be doing random yard work like that anymore. So, all right, guys, I hope you're doing well, enjoying the last week of your February coming up. Have a wonderfully blessed day, and I do hope you'll come back and see me again. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. So here's when you first just put it on. It's just kind of an opening like this. It reminds me of a yip yip. I'm a yip yip. So then you can kind of fold that in, help keep that tucked around your ears a little bit. Look how pretty. I love that. I can't imagine being in weather so cold that I would need it, but I sure would like having it if I did need it. Turn around. Yeah, it'd be nice if you needed it, huh? Oh, here, yeah. I like that. There's a lot of room in here.